European exploration of the Americas. The period of exploration began in the early 15th century and continued through the 17th century. During this time, European explorers like Christopher Columbus, Hernando de Soto, and Ferdinand Magellan took to their ships and men and traveled across the world in hopes of finding ways to increase capitalism in Europe. This was able to happen due to evolution in navigation, ship structure, and cartography. During this journey, Europeans came across unknown lands and unknown people, causing the disruption of native people in their lands, customs, and overall life. Even through the hardships they caused other ethnicities, European powers continued to explore and colonize lands that they came across for three main reasons: to gain more power, to gain wealth, and expand trading and traveling routes in order to help develop Europe into an even bigger powerhouse. At this time period, Europe was in contest for more land to establish more colonies. Christopher Columbus is credited with his famous voyage of discovering the New World when he traveled from Spain in search of a route to Asia and the Indies. Instead, he came across the land we call North America today and allowed European colonies to be established. It didn't take long for settlers to realize that North America had plenty of resources that could place Europe ahead of other powerhouses. The new settlements, resources, and travel routes gave Europe the increase in power that they needed to move henceforth. In his several attempts to find a sea route to Asia, he was never successful. In contrast, without his voyages, the Americas would not have been discovered until much later, which would ultimately have changed the shape of history. European was ultimately beneficial for those who were settling it. They discovered land, the Native Americans shared crops with them, and they found a way for free labor. The Indians, as the Europeans named them, shared crops like maize, tobacco, indigo, and sugar. However, most of these changes were detrimental to Native Americans. Columbus's voyages were believed to have started the transatlantic slave trade because they needed labor to develop the new land. These European explorers forced them into slavery and expected the natives to work for free. Europeans had the idea that not only would it be cheap labor, it would create a safer environment for future European settlements. Forcing them into slavery helped the Europeans obtain products from the New World. They took their land and their freedom. Slavery was not the only downfall for Native Americans. Europeans also brought deadly diseases. Smallpox, malaria, bubonic plague, and chickenpox fell over the Indians. These illnesses were responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Native Americans. These newfound territories were crucial to the expansion of Europe, but condemned the natives to a life of hardship. European expansion in the Americas also led to an unprecedented movement of plants across the Atlantic. A prime example is tobacco, which became a valuable export as the habit of smoking took hold in Europe. Another example is sugar. Columbus brought sugar cane to the Caribbean on his second voyage from Spain in 1493, and thereafter a wide variety of other herbs, flowers, seeds, and roots. Notably, Europeans traveled to America to discover new medicines as well. Europeans had minimum knowledge on people and places outside of Europe. Before they even discovered the Americas, they had no idea that there was life and land beyond their home. With Europeans finding the new land, it caused many problems as well as helped them survive. Native Americans had to fight with the Europeans in order to keep their land. Europeans had more power than Native Americans, causing their fight to be less of a challenge. Europeans were the cause of many deaths of Native Americans due to bringing diseases over to their land. With Europeans having the power they had, it caused them to bring people from Europe over to the newly discovered land to start a new life. With Europeans taking the chance to find new land, it was very courageous because they did not know if they would return home or not. With this discovery of the new land, it helped Europeans gain more power and expansion.